Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday interview sessions. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This channel exists to inspire and encourage your heart-centered leadership. Each week, I share interviews with some of the greatest heart-centered leaders in the world. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. Please visit abty.co.uk if you would like us in your corner. These interview sessions are brought to you by Matt Media Online Marketing, an independent agency who specialise in content marketing, helping business owners get their message seen by the right audience. If you want to get your business seen through the power of social media, head to mattmedia.online. On episode 232, I am joined by Pavel Stuchlik. Pavel is the founder of the Noah Aeon movement. His mission is to bring people back to their center in union with others through his movement, the Noah Aeon movement. This movement was born after spending 10 days in complete darkness in Southeast Asia, which was one of the most difficult and transformative moments that Pavel has experienced, and you're going to hear all about that in the upcoming episode. As a conscious DJ and producer, Pavel is leading global biohacking retreats, workshops and immersive experiences, and spreading love through the curating of immersive, transformational shows and events all across the world. Pavel has been super gracious, and he has given a free bonus system reset which you can listen to and experience at the very end of this conversation. So be sure to stick around, be sure to give that a go. And here we go, episode 232 with Pavel Stuchlik. Pavel, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you, brother?
I'm amazing. So glad to be here. And thank you so much.
Great to see you. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I remember I was in the Health Optimization Summit 2022, so last year, and I'm walking around the Business Design Center and I'm looking over this balcony at this breathwork session that's happening. And like, there's this guy at the front, he's got his laptop, he's got some music, and he's taking some people for, I'm like, wow, what is this? Like, what is going on? And that was you. And so now that we're here having this conversation, man, like that was sweet. I didn't get to partake in that session, but just know that I was observing. I was like, that was sweet, man. I would love to have been part of that.
Yes, that's awesome. And we literally just did it 2 weeks ago. We were back there and did another one. It's called System Reset, which is one of those signature experiences we curate, and it takes people on breath, dance, meditation, and I call it the BDM because I had enough of EDM. So now it's time to bring the consciousness back to our life.
But it's such a, like, one of the things I say about this conscious journey, this heart-centered journey, one of the things I say is it's got to be experienced. So much of this is beyond the intellect. You have to have an experience that then makes the transformation possible. And I imagine this BDM is a whole level of experience. Like, where did you even start to bring this kind of recipe of experience together?
Well, you nailed it. So, I've been on this journey through self-transformation for many years, and I think everybody is at some level or another. Now, the question is, are we aware of it, conscious of it, or do we just let the life pass by and give all the power out to the external? Now, in this journey, I wanted to bring the power back to the internal, and that happened through breath. That was one of the big, awakening moments. But primarily, so if I do a high level to a short, story, so I spent about 15 years of intense traveling the world in a search of what is truth, what is love, what is life, what is our society keep on putting into our, heads to see ourselves as, something that we might not even want to agree to. And so it took me on this quest of out of comfort zone. And basically, I committed myself, even when I was in a busy entrepreneur lifestyle, that I'm going to keep on defining my purpose and redefining my why. And it happened through, all of these different experiences, from spending time with the samurais in Japan to being with the psychics in Brazil, And it wasn't really until I spent 10 days in dark room in Thailand, where I, had no food, no light, all just deep meditation, deep source, that I had the wake up light come on in my life.
Mm.
And essentially, after 7 days of this, I just start crying and purging and becoming one with everything. And no matter, what we call this, maybe it was a state of like nirvana, bliss. And basically, it just was so clear for me. I've been doing all of these, crazy things for a reason. And if I think that I will just keep it for myself and be on this journey on my own, then I'm not doing enough. I wanted to live life in a service, and I wanted to share this with others. And I think one of my gifts is to make things simple, make them fun, and find those recipes, putting them together. And that's really, it's a blend of 15 years that led me on journey to define, balance, define happiness. And so that's where we are today.
Friends, thank you for being here so far. I just want to have a heart-to-heart moment with the men. Men, are you tired of going it alone? Do you want to connect with other men who have been there, who have gone before you? Then Akira is the group for you. We know that as men we're supposed to have it all figured out, but the truth is none of us have all the answers. Well, that's where Akira comes in. Our group of successful men is here to provide you with the support, guidance, and advice that you need to achieve your goals. We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. Our members have been through the ups and downs of life, and we've come out the other side wiser and stronger. We want to share our knowledge and experience with you so that you can avoid the pitfalls and reach your potential. Akira is our brotherhood, a place where men can be vulnerable, share their struggles, and celebrate their victories. We meet regularly to discuss the issues that matter most to us, from career, finances, relationships, and personal growth, and we do it all in a safe and confidential environment. So if you're ready to level up in life and become the best version of you, the best version of you for yourself and those you lead, then consider joining Akira today. You can find out all the information that you need at abty.co.uk/Akira. The link's in the show notes. We're waiting for you, brother.
Yeah, I'd love to know a bit more about the system reset, maybe some of the science behind it. But I want to pick up on the thing you said. You went into a darkness retreat for 10 days, is that correct? Now, I understand that you've been back 3 more times since the first time you did it. So you've done it in total 4 times. Earlier this year, I did a 5-day water-only fast. And, that was for me it wasn't more of a mental challenge, but it was a spiritual challenge for me. It was learning how to surrender and depend on something greater than myself. So I used it as a spiritual thing. But I think now, if I was to go back through another 5-day fast, my body and my mind would have some degree of apprehension, almost like I know what's coming. And yet you've put yourself back in this 10-day thing 3 more times. Like, what's it like going back? Like, because you've done it the first time, some of the pain and some of the struggles and suffering you're going to put yourself through. And like, to go back through it again, like, tell us about that.
Well, so it's become my yearly reset, So what I've noticed in life is we have to unhook from everything before we find everything. And so in the constant way of life, we're on the phone, we're on a computer, we constantly just go from one meeting to another. And as soon as there is a moment of silence, we turn on TV or we go and figure out a way of doing all the time. Now, I was so far out from the doing, being an entrepreneur and opening Orange Theory fitness locations all over United States, that I was like, all I wanted to do was, here's my cell phone, take it away and let me like find peace, because I was just so not in peace. And so walked in there, right, to do this. And it was so much more profound than just, receiving peace. It, for the first time, allowed me to touch myself for who I am, not for who I am not. And for the first time, I had this clarity of, this biofeedback or living feedback of who I was in the past, 25 years. And who did I hurt and what situations I would change. And we never allow ourselves for time to just, pause and figure out, like, are we on the right track? And most of us just live this life of somebody else's that is an accumulation of all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the actions, and don't realize that maybe that's not who we are, and maybe that's not how we want to live. And so the reason why I keep on coming back is because I want to go back, revisit my year. I want to see, what have I done right? What do I need to improve? And also tune into the infinite source, because the source is too silent if we're being too noisy. And so everything is about frequency, right? I look at life and our frequency as a keynote on a piano. And you can, be on the high note, or you can be on the low note. And let's say that the low note is fear, pain, anxiety, suffering. And then the high note is love, joy, passion. And when we resonate in love, joy, passion, we are so much closer to why we're here. And so for me, I always go back to that revisit, that reset.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you, my friend, because it is it is courageous. And I really resonate with the high frequency, low frequency understanding of energetics. And there's a phrase in our culture that says we fall in love, and I've come to really choose to see it differently, that says we fall from love. That so much of our society and the things that we're subject to with our stories, our narratives, and the fear from the media, that causes us to fall from our true nature, which is that frequency of love. And I love what you said, because sometimes we have to then learn who we are not to then release that, to let that go. And so much of the characteristics of who we've been led to believe that we are isn't, let's say, the most loving version of that. And so many people on this adult life, as we journey through transformation, the paradox is that not additional, not adding, but actually subtracting. It is taking away that which isn't us, that doesn't serve, that isn't for our highest good. Is that something you resonate with?
Well, it taught me that in this journey, there are basically 4 steps that we keep on repeating and reliving. And again, we can be unconscious of it, or we can be conscious and actually start targeting each aspect of our life as almost if it's its own software or app. So if you have an iPhone or whatever phone you're using, you have a certain amount of apps in the software that you're using that either work for you or work against you. And in an iPhone, what you do is you hold the app and you exit out of it, or you delete it when you no longer have the use for it. But in our real life, we overload ourselves with apps that don't work for us. And whatever it's a mental patterns, whatever it's our physical addictions, whatever it's our emotional dramas. And then we have all of these apps open all the time. Now, in order for us to realize that, we maybe need to change these apps, we have to connect to the internet. So just like the cell phone connects to the internet, we connect to the internet through silence and shifting the frequencies into that slow, beingness. Now, these 4 steps that I've learned, it's very simple. So it's number 1 is the wake up phase, which is the awakening, where you realize that something is not working. It's the awareness phase. After you bring up things or cycles or apps that don't work for you, you delete them. So you do cleanup. So when you clean up, you maybe detox your physical body, or you let go of, emotional trauma, or you stop saying that I'm not good enough because it's obviously not serving you. Now, when you clean up, when you create space and you open up yourself to more, then there is this phase called power up, which is you bring the new stuff in, the new relationships, the new education, the new, thoughts that I am good enough, I am strong, and I can do this. And then the 4th stage is rest up and repeat that cycle. And when I say rest up, you got to pause. You got to unhook yourself. You got to take at least once a week time off of your computer, time off of everyone, few times or 3 to 4 times per month, do it a little bit longer. And then, once a year, do it even longer. Maybe it's a 10-day, 14-day, however long you can afford in this life. But that process of unhooking allows you to rethink those cycles so you can shine the light where it hasn't been shined to, and then move with this conscious state of awareness through every cycle of your life.
Hey, my friends, I hope you're enjoying the conversation with Pavel. If you are enjoying the conversation and want to try out some of his stuff, Pavel has been super gracious in offering this community, the ABTY community, free on-demand access to his library for 30 days. Simply head to the show notes. You'll find the link there. You'll get free access to his on-demand library for 30 days. And he's also giving us 30% off his WaveGuard products and his transformational courses with the code ABTY. There is no benefit here to me. This is all benefits put towards you. I don't get paid anything for sharing these things. The joy is mine by having a wonderful conversation and getting to share Pavel with you. The benefit is also added to you. Not only do you get to hear from Pavel, but you get free access to his on-demand library. You get 30% off his WaveGuard products and 30% off all his transformational courses, all because he is a kind and gracious human being. Simply head to the show notes, use the code ABTY to get those discounts, and be sure to stick around to the end to experience the bonus System Reset recording. But here we go, back to the interview.
Yeah, I've just come back from a holiday vacation with a family, 7 days, phones away. When you operate in an online space and you've got content going out, it's so easy to have your phone around, isn't it? And having kids and realizing how quickly they grow up is such an accountability piece, just to not miss that, like not to be spending your life on a phone. And so I absolutely loved spending that time purely present with my family without the phone. And you're right, the world doesn't fall down, the world doesn't crash because you're not on your phone for 7 days. And it's learning how to live like that's true, like just knowing that it's okay just to put the thing away. You're not going to miss out on anything.
Yeah, I call it the paradigm shift, because we live in this world of have, do, and be. Meaning we have to have the right time, have the right resources, have the right partner before we take the right actions. And most of the time, we never become it. And so when you reverse this paradigm into be, do, and have, you become that greatest version ever held about yourself. You then take the right actions and steps, the podcast, the workshops, the education. And then you have the results as a natural state of being, as a natural state of life, where you start attracting things back because of the actions you've taken.
Yeah, if I was to be conspiratorial, which is in my nature slightly, is to say that actually the Western world has hacked that formula very to their advantage and creates consumers of us by having us believe that we lack in some way, and therefore we pursue things of this world. We think we have to have more and do more in order to be more. And we're constantly, it's like the serpent in the garden, constantly saying, hey, what you need is outside of you. Come and get more. And it can't be further from the truth and a disservice to the truth of who we are.
I mean, psychology of marketing, like every major company understands this. Every major PR company understands this. Every major platform understands it. And that's the scary part. Like social media are literally designed to keep on having you want to have more. And it's really something that the process of unhooking is crucial, because even if you unhook for a day out of your life, all of a sudden you realize, who is this? Who is she? Who is he? And you start figuring out the gifts you actually have. And also imagine the passions and that have been in the background of your head, telling you, I really want to create something, or I really want to, share this with someone, or start a podcast. But then it becomes the last thing that you ever do, because having and doing is always first.
I sometimes laugh in ironic amusement at who I am now, because I know that a former version of me would have just been like, who is this guy? Long hair, he's got a braid in his hair, he's talking about Jesus and stuff like that. And I'd just be laughing like, who is this guy? Is there a professional cyclist within you that's looking at your life now going, how did he get there? How does that make sense?
I can't understand who that guy was. I really, I dissociate myself from that time, because it's really weird. Like, just think about it. Like, I used to literally, go from town to town to race bikes, and that was like everything that I had.
Yeah. Was
But that's the
yeah, Karen.
No, sorry, but that's the fun part about life
Yeah,
too, right? It's so many people are scared to change and transform,
yeah.
but like it's kind of like butterfly, right? Like we keep on expanding and changing and shedding, or a snake's skin, right? Like if we don't keep on shed the old skin, we're not gonna know what the new part of us is.
Mm. When the pandemic hit, I intuitively knew that what was being sold to us wasn't necessarily for our greatest health, and that we were capable of being our own healers. And I've been looking at this content of a guy called Wim Hof, and so I'd started to try his cold showers and started to do some of the breath work. And that for me was really a gateway to breath work, a gateway into realizing so much more was within me that I even realized. Like, where did Wim Hof appear on your journey?
So it was about 7 years ago. I was intrigued by his Polish retreat, and
Mhm.
I booked myself with my friend to go and explore that week-long excursion.
Mhm.
And I walked in there and I was sick. I was under the weather. I had like kidney pain. Like I really wasn't like feeling good at all.
Mm.
And I walked out of there healthy after 7 days of
Yeah.
brutal cold. And
Yeah.
it was so mind altering that like that's possible. And also obviously the breath can take you so deep into these transcendent states
Mm.
that I literally signed up for becoming an instructor, and essentially spend a year learning the method and practicing the method. And so I literally, back then, I owned a yoga fitness meditation studio in Atlanta. And that's where we originally brought all the breath work at first.
Mhm.
And, this is back when literally nobody has done anything like this.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
thought, what is this? This is weird. Like, what am
Yeah.
I doing? I'm on ayahuasca while I'm, in a yoga studio.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you know what I love about your content? I see that you're living this lifestyle and you're taking these your kids of yours with you, and it's such a gift because they get to experience just new possibilities. Like the way that you're leading your family, my friend, I just want to honor that. Like it's beautiful because like you and your partner, you're doing it, you're living, and you're just. I don't think you'll ever realize the true impact that that's going to have, particularly on your children, and then all of the people that they go on to impact. Like that really kind of expands my heart and my mind. Is just to see what possibilities that's going to create, and even just like little video when you're in the river, in the icy cold river with your kids. Ooh, ha, hoo, hi, man! It's just that's like core memory stuff.
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm so blessed and grateful, all the time, because it's not easy, right? Like we literally bring them on a tour with event schedule, and
Mm.
it's really, tough sometimes to restore and regenerate, because if
Mhm.
you're, in front of so many people and then you go straight home and they're like ready for you to,
Yeah,
now it's my time.
yeah.
But I've really committed that, at least once a year, like during their summer break, we'll take them, have them see this and feel this, and they also can make money with us. They set up all of the, headphones and all of our, props, and then they're so excited because they earn the fairy patch, which we call.
Yeah. Yeah, let's
So
let's loop back around to the system reset. Like what goes on at the level of the body when you're going through a system reset. So let's just imagine I'm putting on your headphones. Tell me about the experience I'm having. What am I hearing? What are you guiding me through? And what then happens to me physically?
So every system reset starts before you even come. So we actually ask people what's their why, what's their transformation, what is their gifts that they're going to be also bringing to this group. And we study every single person quite in depth, because we want to understand what is this recipe for this particular group. Now,
Mm.
the system reset has its own flow, has its in stages, and it's programmed, but it always switches and changes based on the need of the current group. Now, it always starts with something called instant presence, which, by the way, wherever you are, it's time to drop in. So instant presence, it's three things. It's breath. So if you are driving or whatever you might be, you always want to be aware of this slow, subtle inhale for about 6, and then slow, subtle exhale for about 6. Now, breath is the number one gateway to life. Breath is what you're born with. Breath is what you die with. What you do in between the first breath and last breath determines the quality of your life. And if you can just simply start breathing in this shape or way, it's also amazing for longevity. There's a lot of science behind this breath. The second part is body awareness. So ask yourself, where am I? You know, most people are in their head, on their computer, on their phone, sometimes out of their body. So bringing the awareness is the second step. And when I say awareness, I'm talking about being aware of every pore of your skin. I like to imagine a bubbling champagne around you, like a little bubbles, and breathe in and out of this space, not just through your nose, but through every pore of your skin. Now, then you know you're relaxed, you're aware of your body, aware of your breath. And then the third part is stillness and silence underneath the noise. So if you can observe that, no matter if you're in the busiest, Hyde Park, straight up in the middle of the busiest day, you can still find breath, body awareness, and silence and stillness beneath the sound. So it always starts with that. Then we move into group coherence. We do a lot of work with heart. We do a lot of work with coming into everybody's heart. And we actually don't talk to anyone. We ask people right away to lay down, and they're listening to frequency binaural beats to reset their nervous system. After this section, we do introductions, we finally welcome, and then we go into about an hour worth of deep breath journey. Now, each time is a little bit different. So we target the different aspects of us. So the physical, mental, emotional, relationships, environment. And so each breath represents something else to look into. Open up and use the breath as the vortex to get you into that state. And then start clearing it with your thoughts, with your words, with your sounds. People laugh, people cry, people, it's all over the place when it comes to that hour. When we finish that, we move into manifestation. So think about it as the past, present, future when it comes to the flow. And when we manifest, we dance. So we use the ancient tribes where they were dancing for everything, whatever it was rain, whatever it was, find a new husband. I mean, they literally dance for everything. So we dance for that, and we start cultivating and embracing the emotion. And then we end it with meditation, this tree of life process, as well as we have instrumentalists, singers, sound healers, drummers. I mean, it's a whole, like a show when you go to our signature system reset.
Yeah, I've got written down here, system reset, cultivating the energy of your absolute power is how you describe it. Yeah, where is that power? Where does that power come from?
The power lies within us. So a lot of people think it's outside of us, but look up the Taoist, look up the Qigong, look up Tai Chi. Everything is around Qi, mana, prana, the energy, life force. Now, when we're born with this life force, which is what gives us life. And when we die, that life force is taken away. And this is when, whatever we call it, spirit, soul, God, I mean, it really is interchangeable, love. And it's that vibration that's within us. But if we're constantly outside of our mind, and if we're constantly, tensed up and being in a fight or flight state because of our stressful lives, then we don't allow that vibration, that source vibration to come out and nourish us. And that's, by the way, something that I've learned in the dark room. The dark room retreat is it's not fasting. You're actually on a water, but you are tapping into the source energy. And this is something that was pioneered by Jas Muhin, who's been my mentor, and I've trained under her extensively, because there is other source of food that we can have that is not physical food. And that is this source, this love. So the more we allow this love to come through us, more fulfilled our life is on every level. And so it's about allowing, it's about being, it's about coming to that breath and coming to that state.
Yeah, just before we came on, I saw an Instagram reel as one of those kind of spiritual speakers of the 70s, you know, when it just sounds really cool, like in the or like an Alan Watts type. And it was basically just saying how like the soul is the mini version of God. It's like a small individual, like within me, within my you know, my vessel, shall we say. The way I describe it, the way I like to see it is, imagine like sources like the ocean, and if we all took then a container and scooped up a bit of the ocean, well, this is my temporary vessel. This is it gives me the illusion that we are separate because it looks very different, but the same source is within us, and it both comes from the wider, you know. So that's how I visualize my soul being a mini version of God. And then there's an awakening within me with that realization that actually says I'm a fractal expression of God, and you're a fractal expression of God. And I think the word namaste says that the spirit in me recognizes the spirit in you. And I think that's just such a beautiful way, isn't it? If we all could just recognize the spirit within us and in all and through all, I think that's just a wonderful gateway of, you know, being able to love people, being able to act in loving service of other people, because in some way we aren't disconnected. The illusion of disconnection and separation just dissipates when we start to see each other as from the same source.
You know, it's literally, so I usually don't mention this, but the fourth part of the instant presence is literally start acknowledging the presence in others. And so, you know, one of my favorite things to do when I fly a lot, I sit down on a plane and I acknowledge the beings around us, the beings that we travel with. Grocery store, you know, what if instead of judging people, we looked at them not as what they look, where they're from, what they say, but actually as just a being inside of you. And when you start seeing this, and maybe sometimes I like to visualize people as light, you know, so it's just frequency. Because if we take these bodies down and if we take, you know, deconstruct everything, I mean, everything that separates us is just space and or air, right? And air is space. And so when we take all that down, it starts, you know, becoming one. And, you know, I also like this analogy where every wave is a different spirit off of one big soul, you know, as the ocean. And also, if people want to actually get in touch where this spirit resides, you know, imagine an iceberg that's inside of, you know, that's in the ocean, but imagine that iceberg be reversed. So the tip of the iceberg is your physical body, and then the vast majority of the iceberg, you know, that vast big part is your soul, and it's right above you. And so when we connect to this vast majority, it can start speaking to us. And that's something called the psychic senses that we all have.
I love that. There's a Imagine Dragons lyric that says, I'm an apostrophe, I'm a symbol to remember that there is more to see. And I think, you know, even just, you know, I talk about in leadership settings, in a very practical settings, is if you just imagine that person's an apostrophe, that there's always more to see.
Yes.
With Noah Aeon, the words, the essence behind it, bringing people back to their center in union with others, like, where's your heart for that? Where do, like, is this life's work? Is this life's expression? And how did you come upon this to be your expression of your purpose?
So it was in a cave where this idea came about. So Noah means movement, and Aeon is all or none, and it symbolizes duality. But the main mission or goal is harmony, is to come back to center. Now, my whole life, I've been dancing between Noah, the good guy, and then Aeon, the bad guy. And this dancing took me on this, you know, game of duality. And in this process, in this game, you know, I had a good days, I had a bad days, I had a good decisions, and I had a very bad decisions that led me into a lot of trouble. And, you know, if you think about having two voices, you know, there is one voice in your life that continues to talk the good parts, right? It tells you to start working out and stop watching Netflix at night and, maybe meet new friends. And then there's this negative voice that's telling you, let's go have a drink, and then let's have another drink, and let's do some drugs. And then it takes you to the other side. Now, we can either dance and play this ping pong all life, or we can step outside of this, where we start acknowledging the beingness inside of us and inside of everyone else. And then essentially this game of duality actually is over. Like, you will stop having this dance. And so, for me, that was so important, finding this balance, that I literally brought it into the name, into the meaning. And more we stay in this balance, more we will stop having this, crazy dance, and less of these extremes will happen. And I can see it now in my life. I'm no longer, dancing. I was able to integrate that shadow side of myself and be able to live this greater expression, which keeps on unfolding and opening so much more goodness that I wish for everyone to have.
Well, I think you've just touched on a very important word that I think much of the personal development world gets or misses, which is integration. So many of the personal development world make an enemy of low vibes, negative vibes, good vibes only, positive vibes only, self-love. Well, love, if people have only ever known a conditional form of love from the world, why do they think that things will be any different when it comes to their self-love? If they've only ever known a conditional form of love, then surely they'll apply those same conditions to myself. I'll only love myself when I look like, I sound like, I've got. And the reality is, I think love is available to us now, so long as we're courageous enough to look and accept and integrate the light and the dark.
Well, and that's the journey through self-transformation, right? So I think what happens in this process is that most people quit the minute that they decide they want to change their life. And the reason why they quit is because there is a sequence of things that wants to come out. So, in that process that we were talking about, the 4 steps, it's literally you wake up that something is no longer working, right? You are like, okay, I'm going to make a new decision. Maybe you go to a retreat and you're like, I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to, do all of these other things. But then as soon as you decide to quit this job, and this is what happened to me, I walked out of the cave, I wanted to sell everything, and I literally lost everything. So after making millions of dollars for not being happy and getting me depressed, I lost all of it within the next 2 years. And essentially, it was this process of shit, like I'm dancing again, But in that dance, we have to realize that if we don't clean up, if we don't surface, if we don't look into all of these things that are not out of our highest integrity, you cannot simply take that into the oneness, into that beingness. If you want to live outside of duality, you got to face the things that are causing you to stay in duality. And so when I let go of this, when I finally surrendered, then I had this space and time to bring new partner in my life, which I love so much now, new business partnerships and new business ideas. And so without that process of, shaving all this down, there was not true beingness. And I call it the J curve. It kind of happens in everything, in business, in relationships. There's that beginning phase where we fall in love and we get really excited about something new. But then we don't realize it always drops down before you achieve or you go back up into the top of the J. Now, most people get freaked out. There's pain, there's suffering. You have to face your husband, wife, or, relationships. And then they're like, okay, I'm just going back to my old route. That was just fine. I'm comfortable, right? But that comfort is the biggest enemy when it comes to transformation, because it does begin when you move past the fear, there is love. And so at the end of it, you will be greeted with more of what you are, which is this powerful, amazing being. And but you got to look in, you got to go through it. And that one, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm out of the wars at least.
Yeah. I love that. I believe in the forces of good and evil, light and dark, and I was having a conversation with a friend this morning, and she's doing wonderful things, but experiences the loud voice of doubt. And the conversation I was having is that isn't you. Like, the doubt and that voice isn't you, it's the enemy. Because if we start to see things from the voice of the enemy look at it like this, right? Darkness itself is not an entity. I cannot subject you to darkness. When you were in that cave, darkness wasn't something you were surrounded by. It was characterized by the absence of light. I imagine if you lit a candle or a lighter, the room would have been filled with light. Darkness would have had to have left the room because light was present. And I think our thoughts are a bit like that. I think our work is a bit like that. I think our life and our heart is a bit like that, that says that darkness only prevails in the absence of light. So what warfare, what weapons does the enemy then use? Doubt, distraction, discouragement, all the things that actually stop us bringing the very thing that we're born to do in the service of others. I think the only way the enemy wins is if it stops us believing that we have any worth and that our ideas are rubbish, we're not supposed to do these things, or we're so distracted on our phones. And I think the way that we get through that, like you say, is beyond that fear, we bring it to the world in loving service of other people. I think then so goes the ripple effect of light.
Yeah, well, the action of fear is to create more fear. And
Right.
darkness could be interchangeable with fear. And so that's why, like, more we fear, more we attract the same. Now, I do understand in those hardest moments and times, it is really hard to see the light. And, and I mean, I was pretty much homeless and I didn't have food for my kids. And I, literally everything I touched for a period of life went to hell. Like, it was not working. And essentially, in that process, I had a choice, right? To go back to comfort, go back to help, or to transform, open the new door and actually transcend this, fear and pain into love. And, and it happened, and it was brutal at first. But, when we stop claiming more fear, which ultimately every decision that we make is either coming from place of love or coming from place of fear. And this is why, Noah, Aeon, right?
Yeah.
And if you get yourself so wound up in fear, it's going to be really hard to see love. And this is when, some people that are on the streets and people that are really far down, they sometimes have to go that down because they've been avoiding that light for so long. And so I think, the good news is, like, life can only get so bad before, it turns around. And this is when surrender, this is when breath, this is when really finding those tools like system reset and many, many more that are gifted to us becomes so handy. And this is when, through this time, educating yourself and motivating yourself with, good community, and that it will eventually pass, because it has to. And it's all about law of resonance. Longer you stay in that, vision beyond the clouds, faster it's going to start becoming light.
I'm enjoying this conversation. It's just a big characteristic of what you said then is faith, isn't it? Because so many people believe because they see. I believe in this table because I can touch it. But so often, I mean, even Jesus says that blessed are those who believe without seeing. And like in our darkest of days, when things don't look, our ability to surrender trust and to continue to believe that best days are ahead of us, that the universe loves us, is got our backs, that's an act of faith, because we are choosing to believe without seeing. And as old JC says 2,000 years ago, you'll be blessed. You'll be blessed. You'll eventually see those things. Why? Because you first believed they were possible.
Yeah, and and it's so funny, right? Like, life is actually so simple when we stop complicating it, because if you think of life, right, it's the thoughts you're thinking, it's the words you're saying, it's the action you're making that creates the character you're living. And so if you just look back and just pause right here, right now, and start writing down the thoughts that you have about yourself, about your neighbor, about your life, and you just simply pause, rewrite these thoughts. And I took years to do that until I start finally thinking the thoughts that I wanted to think of myself. Then, you start having the right words. You start saying it to your friends and claiming it out loud. And then you follow the actions, because a lot of people miss that part, because they think that being, yes, you want to be in a state, but if you just go into the other opposite spectrum where you become so spiritual that the spirituality is going to bring you everything home, then that's another, miss. I think there's that story about a helicopter when somebody was seeking help, and then it was there, but then didn't think that God could bring helicopter. It's just some of it, but essentially, it's this is when all faith or all religions, I mean, they're quite simple when we go to the root and ignore the fear, ignore the limitations of the human mind that also has been imposed to this world.
You said something earlier around the word balance, and so you've been through this journey where you've had a lot, you've then lost it, and this period of transformation and integration that follows. How do you now find balance between a demanding work schedule, the expression of your work, finances, money, family, health and well-being? All these things are drawing upon your energies in different directions. Like, is balance something that you find? Is it I like to think balance is more of a verb. It's something that we do in movement. Like, how do you find that degree of peace and balance?
Well, when you own your life, when you own your time, you own your life. And so what's really important is building schedule right ahead. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I've overbooked myself with us. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, where I was doing 7 events in 4 days in London, and literally just on a crazy sequence, schedule. And so it doesn't always work. Let's start with that. Now when
Real
I
talk.
do, yes, what I do strive in is, so when I have days on a tour, it's just jam packed. I mean, I increase the amount of supplements, increase the amount of recharge, meditation, breath work. I mean, it's all equal to that expenditure. Now, when I weave off, I go into a more standard lifestyle, and I created a schedule that's very well versed. So generally, it all starts with 1 to 2 hours in the morning of self-time, and whatever this is: exercise, meditation, breath work, prayers, manifestation. How do I want my day to be? That will be like the first part of the day. The second part of the day, usually if I'm with kids, they go to school, prepare them, spend some time with them. And if I'm not with kids, it would go into a work mode. So for about 5 to 6 hours a day is when I have a full focus time on just that piece. In the midst of the day, I always strive to have a time with Ferry, with my partner, as well as in the afternoon. I love having time for creativity, as well as time for education. So every single day I bring and find at least an hour to continue, educating myself, as well as to spend 1 hour on my passion. When I go towards the end of the day, then there is a more connection and time with family, as well as silence and nature. I spend every day time in nature, and I use something called 8-point luscious lifestyle. I teach this to our high achievers, or in our retreats, in our workshops. And it's a very simple, and 8 points I follow that helps your frequency to stay high, all the time. Now, in this, process, what I have had to define is my passion, my purpose, and legacy. So the way I spend time is either on myself, or with work or life mission, and or relationships, family, friends. And so that's kind of like that triangle when I build the time of where I want to put my focus to. Now, what I've noticed is, every single aspect of ourselves has to be refueled separately. So physical body, healthy nutrition, organic, grass-fed, fasting, sleep, supplements, everything that goes into the body. Then the mental body, we don't realize that if we eat media, and if we eat constant, clutter, that also fuels us. And it's kind of like eating junk food in a physical body. So we have to eat the right food for the mental body. Then we've got emotions, and this is when we forget about this quite a bit in life, because our emotional body gets refueled when we spend time in timelessness. So when we create, when we dance, when we maybe learn a new skill, it actually helps us move into timelessness, which refuels our emotional body. And then we have the spiritual body, which communicates with us through the inner hearing, seeing, feeling, and knowing. And essentially that gift to be able to hear, see, and feel happens with meditation, taking time to communicate, ask the questions, and listen in. And when we listen in, we got to follow these instructions. So we build that muscle with the spiritual. And I call this the me, we, be model, by the way. So the me is the body, mind, soul, emotions, which is the individual consciousness that I constantly, transform, operate on, and work through these cycles. Then you've got the we, which is the collective consciousness. That's your friendships, that's the environment. And that could be even as little as, what is the air you're breathing? What are frequencies? Today's we're getting bombarded by EMFs from everywhere. And there's so much science proving how it's damaging our health, but yet people don't, see it, so they don't fully believe it. And then you've got the be, which is the ultimate expression that's coming back to essence, the God inside of each and every one of us. And it's the supra consciousness. It's how did we get here? If we know that this universe was created 13.5 billion years ago, like how big of an effect did actual individual me had on this large aspect? So me, we, and be, the three essential components. And then when I use the 4-step process, I operate and transform on all these levels, because that's in a simple form what makes up who we are. That was a long story.
No, that was great. I was just letting that simmer, just letting that percolate for people that are listening. What sort of stuff inspires you? What sort of things do you like to learn about?
So a little bit of everything. So I am on so much with in the biohacking space still. So I still teach a lot about nutrition and diet. And for example, tomorrow I have a full day workshop with some of the most prominent CEOs of Southeast Asia. And so I literally, had to stay on top of my work.
Yeah.
And so there is that biohacking part. I definitely continue learning more about breathwork and Vedas and ancient stuff, as well as relationship and how to also improve, the relationship that we have. So it really is, all the levels that I've described. I want to learn more in each aspect. So I continue, expressing this greater version of myself.
I love that. Our audience are familiar with the term biohacking. We had Tim Gray on the show last year. But what's biohacking mean to you?
Well, okay, in that case, I will speak from a different angle. So essentially, those that know biohacking, right, there's the term that was defined by Dave Asprey, and the father of biohacking, who I've worked with extensively from the Upgrade Labs to Bulletproof Media team. But to me, it actually, what I've noticed in the biohacking world, I get asked, what is my most favorite biohack? And I actually say to unhack, because we tend to outsmart ourselves with data, with science. And, what is science? It's so subjective. And, most science is done on men, and most science is done by companies having a interest in what the result is. So, our society imprints us to only believe science, because the superpowers want to curate the science, so they have a way to show us what to believe in. Now, that is not cool on any level. And so there's only one inner science, which is getting in touch with this higher aspect of you that knows everything beyond any science. So to biohack is to figure out the right amount of balance for every cell of your being, whatever is the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, and then use that methodology for yourself, because it's the science of self that only matters, because there's no one other person that's like you. There's no one person that will react exactly just like you ever. So if we can tune in, connect, start listening and paying attention to these this inner guidance, then that's to me biohacking.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I used to pride myself on being a man of science, logic and reasoning and answers and facts. I guess I was a kid that needed to know the answers, right? And I think the irony is that science is simply the pursuit of God. Science is simply the pursuit of truth, and God is truth. And yet, what we see modern days is that science can so often be funded. I think funded science is simply marketing and propaganda.
Literally, and it's funny, and is this, well, science is catching up. So quantum
Yep.
science is getting there. They're starting to prove God and existence and light and frequencies and sound, and so that is starting to get a little bit greater over here. But the traditional conventional science, it's so subjective.
I just want to go on a different train of thought, if you're okay to go here. What does it mean, for you to be a man in today's world? What's your experience of masculinity and being a man, particularly in the kind of personal development, biohacking, breathwork space? What's your belief around kind of what it means to be a man in 2023?
Well, it's a great question, because so many men are suffering with this, and I think again, what society is doing, right? Whatever its expression of emotion is been denied, as well as overblown as something that's a weakness. And also, then you've got the opposite spectrum, where so many men are becoming so feminine that they don't get in touch with the balance. And so I think what it means to be a man in today's world is to find balance between their feminine and masculine, and be in a masculine when it's required, but also take time to be in feminine when it's required. And I think that's a lot of times the machos of this world are, at the end of the macho, if you peeled all the onion, I mean, they're just kids, right? We're just, men are just kids that want to have fun and want to be heard and play too. And so I think this is why, dancing and art and things that are much more of the feminine nature have been such a great path for me, because I find myself to be flowing, to be intuitive.
Yeah.
But then when I need to get shit done and build a plan, then I go into my masculine.
Yeah.
And so, there is time, right, where we need to also nourish ourselves and refuel our masculine and feminine. And so it's all about how you spend time, which determines, which part you're using.
I love that. One key part of what your message is all about is about bringing people, into this unity, this degree of unity. And before we're able to do that with others, we must first do that within ourselves. So I love the way that you've just described that balance of masculine and feminine within ourselves to begin with, finding that unity in it as expression. Because you're right, as partners and as parents, as fathers, we need to be able to hold space for the emotions of our, partners and our children. I understand that we can't meet, our partners just need to feel seen and heard and held, rather than us to fix their problems, right? And how do we do that if we aren't comfortable with emotion? So we can't meet them any further than the depths that we've met ourselves. So that's where the feminine comes in. It's that learning. Who am I? What do I care about? What's my heart? Like, crack that open. Like, what's my playful side? And we can't make space for that in our families if we're not able to go there ourselves.
Well, and what's so interesting? So what I found with my partner is that there is, when you are in relationships, and that could be a business partnership, it really matters not if it's a love relationship or not. But when she goes into her masculine too much, overly, and then I'm in my masculine, we then butt hurt. Like, there is not polarity, there's no balance.
Yeah.
But then when I stay in my masculine and then allow her, right, to like drop in her feminine, all of a sudden, there is a balance. Now, if you are too long with someone constantly and you don't have that time to replenish and restore in your masculine and in her feminine, then you can neutralize your space, and that is when, you know, lack of attraction, and there's not that drive, right? So it's really an interesting dance of being in that, to learn how to really, you know, navigate that. But once you do, it's really beautiful what it can, you know, what can happen in that flow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if we spend too long in the opposites, we're both probably not showing the healthiest expression of those. You know, if I'm too much in my feminine, it's probably becoming too needy, and if she's becoming too much masculine, it's becoming too bossy, and it's just learning actually where's our natural state, where's our healthy zone, and because that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to come in union and relationship with others, contributing to the mosaic, whatever it is that we've been gifted. And it's like that comes with the good and the bad and the flaws, the light and the dark, the yin, the yang. And it's like, here's my fractal expression of what I'm bringing.
Yeah, and again, it's awareness, right? So like, if you're not aware that that person is acting certain way because of the way that they're currently, their frequency is, right? Like, imagine that, like, we start noticing when somebody is not doing well, when somebody is acting out, that means something is in disbalance in their life. And so what if we just took a moment, and instead of judging them and fighting back and meeting them where they at, we stay where we are, we stay in our frequency, and then we help them to see, okay, what do you need help with? How can I support you? And I think, imagine in a company cultures and in our relationships, when we don't go into that offset and give the power to that problem, we actually take the breath, relax, you know, surrender through it, surrender through the emotion, and help that person see that, no, you are loved too. It's okay, you know, to not be okay. And, you know, things shift immediately.
I could talk to you all afternoon, my friend, but I want to be super respectful of your time. We tried to make this conversation happen a couple of times. I believe in timing. I believe in destiny. I think this conversation's happened at exactly the time it was supposed to. I've really enjoyed it, and I know that our listeners will have massively loved hearing from you. Where can they connect with you? Where can they find out more about the great work that you're doing in the world?
Yeah, thank you so much for also the work that you're doing, because I think it's such an important part to you know, create this vortex for people for change. So thank you. And you can find me at noaaon.com. So it's noaaon.com, and Noah Aon Official for social media. And you know, we always give a lot through these sessions. So we'll make sure we'll have a podcast, we'll have a link for you that will give you a free on-demand access to our library, where you can find system reset, breathwork, meditation. It will give you, you know, that whole 9 yards.
Beautiful. Thank you, my friend. That's really good. I'll add all the links in the show notes. And you said the words earlier. You said passion, purpose, and legacy. And I have a word here at Always Better Than Yesterday. It's akin to kind of legacy, and it's called Heartprint. And for me, Heartprint represents like the ripple effect, the 1 degree of possibility that we create in other people. You know, the transformation that all of a sudden, because of whatever we've done with someone, new things have emerged and transformations have become possible. I'd just love for you to just take a moment, Pavel, and just think a little bit about what you think your heartprint might be.
Well, I mean, it comes right away. It's really the unity. It's really that connection, and it's really the end of separation, end of judgment. And it's been, you know, since I was born, my thing has been, how do we unify the world, one person at a time, through interaction, through simple smile. It doesn't have to be much. So it's really been that oneness.
I love that. Thank you for your heart, my friend. I appreciate you. And I'd be honored if you leave us a final thought from your good self.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting journey, whatever you might be. And I think what's important to understand is to rediscover that journey to begin with. And I think when you take that time to unhook, just promise me one thing: you go for a weekend in a cabin or somewhere, wherever you might be in the world, and take that time to rediscover who you are. And if you can do that, commit to that, things will shift immediately. But it has to be by yourself, no phone. You got to be on your own and write.
That's a great call to action. Pavel, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much as well.
As I mentioned at the very start of this episode, Pavel has been super gracious and given us free access, the Always Better Than Yesterday community, free access to a system reset experience. So here you go, get yourself comfortable, make sure you've got some good headphones and put yourself in a place where you can express yourself. Pavel says you can do this solo or in a group, but don't do it in water or whilst you're driving. You're about to experience this system reset, which was what Pavel came into the world with the creation of following his 10-day darkness retreat. That's when the name Noah Aeon was birthed, the Noah Aeon movement, and it's designed to combine ancient tools, modern technology, and cutting-edge science to give people like us the tools to come back to our best selves in every aspect. He has also given a couple of extra gifts as well. He's given access to the free on-demand library for 30 days. Be sure to check that out in the links. And also 30% off his Waveguard products and transformational courses with the code ABTY. Get the full details in the show notes. That's head to his website, Noah Aeon, and check out all the good stuff that's available there. Use the code ABTY to get your discount, and you get free access to his on-demand library for 30 days. What a gracious human being. What an incredible gift. And here you go. You get to experience the system reset. Compliments of Pavel himself. Enjoy, my friends.
Beautiful humans, welcome to the signature system reset exercise here today with Noah Aeon. I don't know about you, but everybody deserves and needs a little reset every once in a while. This exercise is properly used at any point of time during the day when you're sitting or laying down and you just need a reset. The way it works, we're going to be activating 3 of our energy centers, pushing the energy up, and then at the end of it, we're going to do that system reset exercise. That being said, it's time to start. The way it works is we're going to inhale deeper than we exhale, powering up those energy supplies. Whatever you are, let's start breathing. Belly, chest, inhale, and let it go on exhale. Feel it fully in. Keep on breathing at your pace. Whatever feels right for you, I want you to be yourself. I want you to move around, make a sound, whatever it is, just be it, embrace it. This is your time to reset. Keep on breathing deeper and deeper, faster and faster. Make sure that you follow this deep saturation with each inhale and just let it go on exhale. For the next 15 seconds, can you speed it up? Let's go. Feel that energy of yourself and your cells coming in and out. Final 10. Give me even more. Fully in. Final 5. Everything that's left in the tank, give it to me now. 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Hold your breath and squeeze your bathroom muscle. Just hold it right there, squeezing it. First energy center grounding you down, activating, rebalancing, re-harmonizing, pushing that energy up to your head, to the base of your spine, and feel. Center in. Anchor down. Exhale. Second round. Back to the breath. Whatever you are, I would like to ask you to breathe in deeper, letting it go on exhale slower. Fully in. Keep on generating energy. Keep on generating power. Keep on breathing in deeper than you're exhaling. Fully in. Let it out. Keep on working with your body, with your spine, working with that beautiful, powerful self that you are. Keep on going further and further. Breathe deeper, breathe faster for the next 15 seconds. Whatever is left, it's your time to reset. Let's go. Fully in. Feel that energy, feel that rush, feel that power. Final 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Hold your breath, and this time squeeze your lower abdomen. Hold it right there, squeezing it and pushing the energy up base of your spine into the top of your head. Feel. If you want to feel this little motion of swirling around you, feel it, sense it, that vortex of energy that's always there. We just have to tap into. 3, 2, squeeze it even further, and 1, exhale. Back to the third round and the final round. So let's breathe even deeper. This time I would like to ask you to breathe in and out of your mouth. Keep on generating power. Each oxygen converts into energy. Power up of all of your mitochondria. Keep on converting. Keep on generating. Keep on being deeper and deeper in touch with who you are. Go further. Go faster. Go stronger. Keep on breathing and in and out. Allow for the next 15 seconds to do not leave anything behind. Breathe in deeper. Breathe in faster. Generate. Generate. Final 10. Whatever is left in that tank, keep on going further and further for the 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. One final deep inhale. Hold your breath on inhale and squeeze your upper abdomen. Hold it there at the lower abdomen and also the bathroom muscle. All 3 of the energy centers activated, harmonizing and pushing the energy up to the top of your head. Sense the divinity, the energy, the power in and out. Keep on squeezing it a little bit further for the next 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Feel. Reset. And just like your mind is the software, your body is your hardware. And the way we like to talk to our hardware is simple coding. The way it works is we're gonna code the water systems in our body with a new information. You wanna tap your point finger and your thumb together and just simply state system reset from your mind, the software, down to your body, the hardware, and the water systems of your body that carry information, all scientifically backed. System reset back to baseline now. System reset back to baseline now. And wait for the response. Sense it. And if you wish to add system reset, perfect health now. System reset, perfect health now. And the last one, system reset, perfect balance now. However you like to reset for you at the right pace and time, it is all up to you. I am so happy and grateful to be here with you today, and see you next time.
Thank you for making it to the end of the interview here on YouTube. I hope that our time spent together has left you a little bit better than before you push play. Before you go anywhere, please leave a comment down below, some of your key reflections, your key takeaways. I love hearing from you and what this conversation has inspired in you. Let me know what you're going to do as a result of this conversation. I will be back next Wednesday where I will share another inspiring guest. To make sure that you don't miss that, please do subscribe, hit the bell, and you will be notified as soon as it goes live. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organization, please do visit alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com, and it will be my honor and privilege to help you in any way I can. Keep leading, my friends. I've been Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast here on YouTube. Always love.